The ISTJ is a very interesting personality type. Though they are stereotyped with rigidness, personally knowing an ISTJ can make you feel like there's more to it than just the sense of rigid structure. The ISTJ might be most likely to remind me personally of foundationalism, understanding the foundations of a society or a system. But on the inside, they might actually be a bit more creative. They might not always subject themselves to coarse labels, and they might not be as strict with that on those personal things. The introverted sensing and extroverted thinking might cause them to be more foundational with their ideas. But the introverted feeling and extroverted intuition, which are on a deeper level, have a bit more of an individualistic nature. You could say that the ISTJ is the ENFP in reverse, but they still have ENFP qualities. They are still very explorative with their learning, and they have qualities which make them go for various personal interests, and various introverted feeling qualities do exist in the ISTJ. An ISTJ might be multi-talented, but these talents are based on interests that they chose to explore. One of the few ISTJs that I've had the pleasure of knowing actually put himself in many positions in life. He has worked at a variety of jobs that were very, very different from one or another, such as managing a group of actors in theater, but also working retail at a clothing store. And besides that, they could be very good when it comes to, well, in this person's case, vocal talent and various artistic talents. I can't say that they as in all of them, but at least from the ones that I know, they have an interest in the arts, but they apply their interest in the arts in a very structured manner, which is why it can seem like they're almost conforming for the sake of being conforming, even when they are exploring or getting themselves involved in something that might appear countercultural. So you could say that an ISTJ that is a songwriter has a very constructive, foundational way of writing music, despite the fact that they are still people with various introverted sensing and extroverted thinking tendencies. As I've said before, the ISTJ is much like a duty fulfiller, and it's being applied to other aspects of life. The ISTJ might spend time exploring a point in history, but it is because it relates to their interests. They might feel obligated to do things under a code, or maybe they find a specific set of rules that might make a situation more safe. But they do that so that when they explore the area of their interest, they explore it safely. People should acknowledge the fact that they are exploring things and not just look at the fact that they do things on a very strict level. The strictness might be more of a way to safely do the intuitive exploration that they're interested in. So in a way, you can't just say that ISTJs are only these people who have a conformist mentality. Though it is true that they understand the conformist mentality and their ideas lean in that direction, some of their duty-fulfilling qualities is done so that they can be explorative. So in a way, the ISTJ might be just as explorative as the ENFP. It just doesn't look like that on the surface. You could also say that the ISTJ represents the idea of your duty-fulfilling monarch, where they are interested in the power, but they are just as interested in the duty that's taken place in the responsibility of the power. They don't want the most powerful people to be irresponsible with their decisions. And this has a lot to do with introverted sensing and extroverted thinking. The ISTJ might be willing to do anything to stay in power. You could say that some of them have done corrupt things over time, but it was for the very duty itself and to preserve the existing power. In a way, there is a sense of duty that they do, even if it's something that can be corrupt. Richard Nixon is an example of an American politician, well, in this case, American president, who was ISTJ. And the Watergate scandal is an example of a duty-fulfilling politician trying to stay in power and preserve his duty. Now, a lot of people can be corrupt. There are ways in which the INTJ and the ENTJ and even the ENTP could be corrupt. But the ISTJ might do it with a sense of responsibility. And ISTJs, besides Nixon, aren't necessarily the most corrupted people ever. They're not obsessed with power. So it wouldn't be the same type of corruption you'd see with an ISFP or INTJ or anybody within that spectrum. Other famous ISTJs like Frederick the Great and George Washington help give a more almost royal example of the ISTJ. They're very committed to their duty. That is why I see the ISTJ as the duty-fulfilling monarch. But even ISTJs that aren't a member of royalty have that sense of duty which helps them in different aspects of life. Basically, you could say that the ISTJ is still the duty-fulfilling monarch even if they're not in politics. An ISTJ singer might still apply the extroverted thinking methods to something such as being in a band. And they might structure a band based on that. So an ISTJ being the leader of a band might have just as many implications as them being the leader of a nation. You could say that an ISTJ scientist might understand the protocols of the scientific method, but they could easily be an entertainer or an author. They would just be applying the ISTJ method to those fields. So an ISTJ is really an ISTJ, and they still preserve their nature even when doing other things. Meaning that they aren't just people that enjoy following strict rules. They are more so people who might understand how to properly deal with a rigid structure in a responsible way. And their extroverted thinking might really help them move forward. They're very forward-moving people. They're not the most forward-moving people. They're not like the ESTJ or ENTJ. But they move forward enough to make them noticed. And they're very noticeable for people that are introverted. They can really make their stand in their field. And I think that many people underestimate the ISTJ because they just see the sensing and thinking, and they see the introversion, but they don't really see the depth that can exist within the ISTJ and the nature of how useful they are in many aspects of life. They can be useful in military, they can be useful in business, they can be useful when it comes to managing just about anything. So they might be good with a variety of things, and they are very versatile for people that are introverted and sensing and don't revolve around intuitive ideas. They still have a bit of intuition, and they have enough intuition to get through. And people should not underestimate their intuition because they have enough of it, and they can make use of it very well.